Am I still paying my student loans? Yes, but it was worth it. And now more than ever, 2 decades in, older and wiser, I recognize the opportunity that I have. Because I've learned a few things along the way. I've grown as a human being along the way. My perspectives have broadened. And I recognize the opportunity that I have as a public servant to transform government from the inside out. And in this role as director of an agency whose job it is to support every other state agency, is kind of a perfect fit. And I love it. Those things. But I stick with it because it matters. And I do feel like I am helping to transform the way government interacts, not only with our businesses, but with our communities. And I feel really proud of that. Because the businesses that we're working with should reflect the diversity of the communities that we live in, right? Because we serve all taxpayers, not just the ones who are easiest to work with, the ones that we're most comfortable working with, the ones who deliver the fastest, or even not always the ones who have the cheapest price. I know that's a shocking statement from a government bureaucrat. I recognize that. But as public servants, we have to understand the value, right? There's more to value than the bottom line. We have to understand, and I'm working to help my employees, who I can influence, helping everyone to understand the value that small businesses bring that goes way beyond the bottom line. The value that influences our economic well-being, our very quality of life in this community. And there's another reason why I'm thrilled to be here today. Because I've been leading procurement functions out of the 2 decades that I've been honored to be a public servant. One of those 2 dates has been as a procurement professional overseeing procurement functions. I never thought that I would be in that role, but that's the thing about government. There are so many different things to learn and grow into. I did fall into procurement. That was not something I knew I wanted to do 20 years ago. But I appreciate so much more now than ever, again, the opportunity that I have overseeing the procurement functions of the state government, the opportunities that I have to influence the way we see value. And in my 10 years working on both coasts of this country in government, I've actually never seen a community that has the resources that this one has with organizations like the Apex Accelerator. This is such a huge gap that I've seen in my procurement years between the solicitations we're cranking out in government and the businesses who are coming to the table to submit their solicitations and then winning awards. It doesn't always reflect the diversity of our community because it's hard. This is a difficult process. So to have an agency whose mission it is, and I'm going to read it, you heard it from Tiffany earlier, but I cut and pasted this from the website because it still blows my mind. As the newbie here, it blows my mind that they offer no cost, confidential, one-on-one technical assistance in all aspects of selling to federal, state, and local governments. Right? That's the missing piece.
Yes.
That's it. Those resources are available to businesses in this community, and I haven't seen that before. And I am honored to be a part of it, to support it, to, in every way possible, depend on that resource when we're trying to bring our small businesses to the table to be a part of our solicitations. It's such a critical part of the bigger picture. Because I'll tell you something, and the procurement professionals in this room know what I mean when I say public procurement will always have necessary complexities to it. There's only so much you can do to streamline the processes of public procurement. We know that because from a procurement professional's perspective, you're trained to do all the many rules and regulations to make sure you're creating a level playing field for those going through your solicitations. So there's always going to be a complexity to public procurement, no matter how streamlined it is. And it makes these resources so much more important that Apex provides and others like it across this state. And I recognize that that may sound, the complexity of procurement that I'm describing may sound contrary to what I said about the value that small business brings. That value sometimes goes beyond the bottom line, but it's not contrary. And that's my point. We need to bring government and business together to help understand as procurement professionals that there's more than just the bottom line. So that's what I'm doing in my work with DES, overseeing as the state procurement authority for the entire state of Washington, looking at the value that small business brings. Especially, I can't help but say, especially in the legal environment we find ourselves in, right? Where federal judges are undermining the presumption that race has any disadvantage whatsoever in contracting. This is the time for us as government to be understanding the value that small and diverse businesses bring to government. So I think we owe a really big thank you, at least I do, and round of applause to the Thurston Economic Development Council and Apex for bringing all 900 of you here together in this room today. And in my leadership role at DES, we actually talk about this a lot. You might be surprised to know that I spend as director easily more than half of my time talking about this work in different ways with different people, including here today, but mostly internally. Internally because we are the state's procurement authority, internally because we spend money too, right? DES is a large operational agency, like you heard Tiffany describe earlier. We have many great responsibilities in state government and a budget of almost $300 million a year. So we're spending our own money, and as an agency, we're not doing well enough in diversifying our spend. So I talk about this work a lot in different ways. And so I want to talk about some of the ways that we're not just talking the walk, but walking the walk. What are we doing as an agency responsible for state procurement in Washington? What are we doing about this? So I'm going to take just a moment here toward the end of my presentation to talk a little bit about the things that DES is doing. Last year, April 23, we launched the state's first supplier diversity policy. I'm pausing because that's a really big deal. It's the first time that state procurement professionals have been required to use procurement methods that will increase the number of small and diverse firms doing business in the state. I'm really proud of that supplier diversity policy and excited to be a part of the enforcement process along the way in the coming months. We're getting more small, diverse, and veteran businesses on our statewide contracts. I won't go into detail now, but I would love to afterward if you want to know more about our processes, how that works. We have over 100 different statewide contracts that purchasers across the state are required to use. And I'm very proud to say, in the past 2 years, we have twice as many certified firms on those statewide contracts than we did 2 years ago. Very proud of that. We're meeting businesses where they are, right? We have put our money where our mouth is, and we have the resources in our procurement division to go out across the state to the communities where businesses are actually doing their business, to tell them about state contracting opportunities, to help them navigate this complex web of procurement requirements. One of the ways that is on my mind that I talk about a lot internally is what I see as the gap, right? I recently hired a chief transformation officer, and she's helping me lead this work, and she calls it the big gap, right? The gap between what the state is selling and what businesses, I said that wrong, what the state is buying, billions of dollars. Tiffany was right, billions of dollars. There's a gap between those dollars being spent and businesses who are able to provide what we're buying. So internally, we spend a lot of time strategizing about that and bringing together community professionals like you to brainstorm and strategize that. How do we build up the businesses that don't yet exist and the things that we're buying? So find me if you'd like to talk more about that. I'm also very proud that DES, among the many responsibilities that we have, we are also responsible as the agency who does workforce development across the state. We are implementing the DEI training across all 68,000 state employees. That is mandatory for state employees to attend. And that is not something, that is not a training that you can attend and check the box and say you did it because you had to. No, thank you. This training was very intentionally designed to put race first, to help people who are going through this training understand why agencies like the NVDA, for example, exist in the first place. These are the people who are doing our purchasing across the state and understanding the why behind the work that we do. And I'm really proud of that. We've trained over 13,000 state employees to date, changing hearts and minds here, not just issuing procurement policies. Lastly, there are other things I could highlight, but I want to talk about that little thing that changed recently in the legislature that you may have heard about, took a key role in, which is the statewide small works contracting registration process. Have you heard about that? We're joining 692 different government agencies across the state so that we have one registration system for you to register with, not 692 of them. It blew my mind when I heard that. That is a significant move toward making doing business with the state of Washington an easier thing to do. And it's not everything. It is one thing, but it's a major accomplishment. I know there's lots of opportunities for you to learn more about that on today's agenda. So don't ask me for the details. Go talk to MSRC who's implementing that. And I'm going to attend that one too, because there's a lot more that legislation did. This is one of the biggest, but there are other changes made in that legislation that passed last year that becomes effective this year. That's helping firms who would normally be subcontractors in public works projects, small works projects, be primes. And I think that's such another important move in the right direction for this. So I could go on. There are a few more things I could mention that DES is doing, but I think I'm going to wrap it up. I know you haven't hit a full agenda today, and I'll be honest, there is a lot to be done, but there's still more work to do. In fact, more work to do than there is work to be done, and that's just true fact. we do with the government. And if you are here as a business owner, I hope you take that DES and this will my team. I want to tell you, you need to learn off private. Because I heard it. It's Tara.Smith, so Tara.Smith at des.wa.gov. So Tara.Smith at des.wa.gov. If you missed that, you can find the DES table and they'll point you in the right direction. And also, I can help you find those Girl Scout cookies if you want to miss your chance. Thank you, everybody. Have a beautiful day today. And thank you for inviting me to be here.
Wow, thank you, Tara. Thank you for everything you're doing at Washington State on behalf of our small business owners and connecting them. So, okay, so I have a couple minutes here. I'm going to go over the housekeeping for the day that's going to make this